Hey everybody, welcome in to the point. Are we doing well on this Thursday? Been a few days, but I'm glad to be back with all of you. It's been an interesting week to say the least for yours truly, but still lots of sports going on. Still have lots to chat about. So excited about that. We're going to look into all the series today. A lot of them that are over. The first round has been a bit of a snooze fest. Quite frankly, hasn't been that captivating. It's one-way traffic for the most part. We still have three series left, so we'll look at those matchups and what's happening with a series end last night in Edmonton, Alberta, as they punched their ticket to the second round against the Los Angeles Kings for the third straight year. So, lots to dive into, lots to talk about today. Want to start off the show saying heavy heart today, 7 years ago today. My grandfather, my hero, passed away, and this show is for him. Miss him every day. Wish he was around, but unfortunately, he isn't. But think about him. I miss him all the time, and I just want to start off the show with that because he would be loving and hating this Maple Leafs run all at the same time, like most Maple Leafs fans. Now let's start off with that series. Maple Leafs Bruins, Game 6 tonight in Toronto. It's been a interesting series because after Game 4, it felt like the series was over. Felt like all hope was lost. Trade this guy, trade this guy. Austin Matthews has some illness or injury or the worst food poisoning since Michael Jordan during the flu game. What we know is he can't play. He didn't play on Tuesday. So you're thinking the series is over. But then without Matthews in Game 5, without Marner playing particularly well, Nylander to me was just okay. And yet the Maple Leafs go out and for 45, 50 minutes of that hockey game on Tuesday night, it looked like an elite team with high-end skill and a team hanging on. The Maple Leafs dominated the game. It turned out to be a close game because the Maple Leafs just can't score. Their power play has been abysmal all postseason long. Their 5-on-5, their numbers, you might see them better. Expected goals, expected metrics, whatever the nerds are coming up with day in, day out. All I know is they can't score goals. But for the Maple Leafs, they defended well. They didn't give up a whole lot of high-quality scoring chances. Joseph Woll was good when he had to be. He didn't have to make a whole lot of tough saves, but he was good enough. And ultimately, Tavares beats Matt Grzelcyk to the post, throws the puck on net. Matthew Knies is driving it. He puts in the rebound. The Maple Leafs win 2-1 in overtime, and the series goes back to Toronto. I thought the Maple Leafs played hard from the start. The Boston Bruins, because two things can be true. Because oftentimes you go, well, this team did this well, and then you go, well, that means you can give credit to a team while also pointing out a fact on the opposing team. And that doesn't take away anything. And I have to do this because I find Maple Leafs fans they're the most sensitive about anything you say positive or negative. On Tuesday, The Maple Leafs played with more force, they played with more action, they played with more purpose, they played harder than the Boston Bruins. But also, the Boston Bruins were flat from Jump Street, and they never really found their legs till about 10 minutes left in the game. Last 10 minutes, Boston was the better team. They threw it at Toronto, they possessed the puck more, better scoring opportunities. They had the better scoring opportunity early on in overtime. It just went down the ice the other way, and Matthew Nyes puts it away. But for 45 to 50 minutes, the Maple Leafs were the better team, and Boston just looked like they didn't have it. Looked like, they're jet lagged, like you're flying over to Australia or something. You don't know what you are. Different time zone, time change, what's happening to our body. Maple Leafs were ready to play. It wasn't, Austin Matthews isn't here. It's time to pack it in. Mitch Marner is whining on the bench, throwing gloves the game before. No. And quite frankly, the Maple Leafs, every line was better. I thought the best player for the Boston Bruins on Tuesday was Charlie Coyle. Personally, I thought he had a great game. But Nyes gets the overtime winner, and he was their best forward in the game. Competing for pucks, the Maple Leafs, what they did different than games 3 and 4, they won board battles. They got to those dirty areas. They fought for space. And they won them. They helped create scoring opportunities. Where I think you look, in particular, Game 4, they'd go into a corner, and Boston would come up with the puck every time. I also thought they were more physical than Game 3 and 4. They took out, Brandon Carlo had to leave the game. Matt Grzelcyk, who's the weak point of the Boston defense, they targeted him. And they win a game where their power play is still awful. They didn't get any good scoring chances. Their power play is just dreadful. They can't figure it out. I don't know what's going on with it. But they didn't allow Boston to score a power play goal. Brad Marchand had his worst game of the series. And when Brad Marchand isn't being effective offensively, when he isn't creating, because he is, a future Hall of Famer, he's not just mouth. But when he isn't scoring, when he isn't creating offense, when he's not doing that side of things, he has to resort to his antics. Where, you trip a guy, you trip him, he throws a dive, and then it's a mix-up, and then you both go off for a penalty. He was bitching a lot during the game. He was yelling at his coach, yelling at teammates, and it's because he wasn't that productive. He wasn't having a great game. Puck would get to him, kind of bounce off his stick, just wasn't his night. Now, I don't have a problem with Brad Marchand and how he does his business, because that's his game. I understand if you're a Leaf fan and you hate Brad Marchand, because you're a fan, and when you're a fan of a team, you hate the opposing team. That's just fandom. But I can't hate Brad Marchand in the way he does it. If you think about it, he's a small guy. The fact that he plays the way he does, he's been so effective. 35, I can't believe he's 35. You see the way he skates, see the way he competes. He doesn't look 35 years old. Captain of one of the original 6 organizations. He's been on some of the best teams. He's been on Olympic teams, Brad Marchand. He's won a Stanley Cup, been to multiple. He's had a great career doing it the way that he does it. Do I like that he licked Leo Komarov? No. But let's be honest here. He dives? Yes, absolutely. There's some divers on the other team too. Wearing the blue jersey with the Maple Leaf crest. There's some divers. Mitch Marner doesn't dive occasionally, regularly. Does he not get up and bitch, moan, just like Brad Marchand? Brad Marchand more accomplished than Mitch Marner. So everybody does it. He does it his way. And I just think it gets amplified because he's a high profile player. But it happens around the leagues. I wanted to get rid of that argument because I think it's a stupid one, quite frankly. Moving forward, I think the Maple Leafs, they might have Austin Matthews tonight. They might not. I don't know. I think he skated some yesterday. If he has, let me put it this way. If he has a serious injury and he couldn't play Tuesday, but he can play on Thursday, I find that very weird. And again, pain threshold, different for different people. But I always go back to Matthew Tkachuk. He played in the Stanley Cup final with a broken sternum. Don't know how he did it, but he did it. Tyler Johnson, 2015 run, played with a broken wrist for 2 rounds. Couldn't shoot the puck, but played for 2 rounds with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So maybe he plays, I don't know. I just find the whole Leafs injury debacle quite weird, for lack of a better term. But if the Maple Leafs win, let me rephrase that. The Maple Leafs play the way they did in Game 5. Even if Boston has better pushback tonight, which I think they will, I think Boston will have a better start than they did in Game 5. The Maple Leafs are more talented than Boston, which is why I picked the Maple Leafs to win the series. I looked at them and go, they got a better edge here. More opportunities to score goals. If Joseph Wall is stable, then you never know. They're down 3-2, and other than Matthews in Game 2, their top players haven't really had a great moment in the series. Mitch Marner had third period of Game 4, which doesn't count because the game was over. Other than that fake one, their best players have been quiet. They haven't had their moment yet. They definitely could. William Nylander could have a game where he has 3 points, and he's fantastic. Mitch Marner could have 3 points in a game. They could have a power play effort in one of the next 2 games and go, okay, that's what we were looking for. Our power play is clicking. This is how we are going to win. I picked Maple Leafs in 6, so I'm going to be wrong. No matter what, the Maple Leafs still might win the series, but for the number of games, I will be wrong. I think this is a series of 2 really just coaches who are nervous, who are overthinking things, and look a little uneasy and kind of have jumped the shark a little bit. Sheldon Keefe, it's his media, lineup decisions, just the way he's presenting himself. He looks like a guy that's already fired. To quote Dwight K. Schrute, you are pre-fired. That's what he did to Jim in The Office. Sheldon Keefe looks like he knows that he's going to be fired. And he's kind of presenting himself that way. Kind of with the media, he's been weird, nervous. Let's talk about Jim Montgomery. Boston wins games 3 and games 4 in Toronto. In those games, John Beecher, who's a fourth-line center who scored the opening goal of the series, and Kevin Shattenkirk were playing those games. And in Game 5, he decides to make lineup decisions. He brings in Justin Bruzeau, and Shattenkirk comes out in the defense, and Matt Grzelcyk comes back in. Bruzeau was fine. Beecher's a little faster. I like him more. He skates better on that fourth line. Because otherwise you're playing with Maroon, so it looks like a slow line. So it didn't make sense, but it's a fourth line. You go, okay. Also, Beecher's better at faceoffs, which the Bruins struggled with on Tuesday. But Shattenkirk out, Grzelcyk in. Matt Grzelcyk was taken out of the lineup because he was a liability, because he's too small for playoff hockey, and they needed to make a change. Mason Rolai, Parker Witherspoon come into the lineup. Well, Jimmy Montgomery doesn't take out any of the guys who were recent additions. He takes out Shattenkirk, who was in from game 1 on, and who's a part of their second power play unit. Grzelcyk comes in, and again, he gets attacked because he's so small back there, and he can't deal with it. What happens on the game-winning goal? If you're going to be small, you better be fast. Well, John Tavares, who isn't small, also isn't fast, beats Grzelcyk to the spot, throws the puck on net. Matthew Nyes gets the rebound. That isn't being done to Kevin Shattenkirk. I don't understand changing a lineup after you win a game. To me, that's panicking. To me, that's overthinking it. Matt Grzelcyk is not a playoff defenseman because he's not big enough to deal with it. It's just not going to happen for him. Great in the regular season. Power play, can move the puck. But the way this series is being played, the way the majority of series are being played, when you are a small defenseman, you need a lot to go right for you to stay in, to have a place. Sammy Girard's got a lot of behemoths around him, which helps him. Plus, he can outskate some of those problems. He's gotten better at it over the years. But you look at the Maple, who's been their best defenseman in the series has been Joel Edmondson. He's their biggest defenseman. Plays a simplistic game, knows what he's doing, doesn't get out of position, can erase mistakes of teammates. And he's just done it first 5 games so far. And I think he's been very solid doing it. Jim Montgomery was up 3-1 last year. He lost the series. Up 3-1 this year. Boston lost in overtime in Game 5 last year to Florida. Is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again to the Boston? That's what fans are panicking. The coach is panicking a little bit. Be embarrassing to that organization to have 2 straight years of blown 3-1 leads. Do they make a change at head coach if it happens? Seems drastic, but you never know. The Maple Leafs have lost 7 straight playoff games at home, which is hard to believe. I don't know. Something's got to give. I think the Maple Leafs are going to win tonight. I don't know if they'll win Game 7 because they never win them. But I think they'll end that streak and win at home tonight to force a Game 7. I think they have more outs than the Boston Bruins. Their stars can play better. Their power play can come alive. Joseph Wall could have himself a game where Boston has to play to their mentality, be good defensively, get strong goaltending, don't be stupid and take unnecessary penalties, take advantage when we get a power play. Now, Boston could get a great game from David Pastrnak, and they haven't gotten that yet in this series. He's been defended extremely well, frustrated when he's on the ice. So there are opportunities for that to happen for Boston, but I don't know if it will. Whoever wins this series is in tough because you got Florida sitting there getting healthy, waiting for you. And Florida's better than Toronto, and Florida's better than Boston. And I don't think either team can beat them. But you get to keep playing. You get to keep the hope alive that maybe something does happen. If I'm Jim Montgomery, Kevin Shattenkirk's coming back into the lineup tonight and shows John Beecher. You made a mistake, go back to the lineup, it's been winning you games. Enough with this stupidity. If I'm Sheldon Keefe, I run back the same lineup from the other night. Unless Austin Matthews is available, then Dewar comes out of the lineup. I think Matthews will play tonight, but again, I find that weird that he can't play Tuesday, but he can play on Thursday. We'll only know what's up when they win the cup and tell us, or they lose and get bounced. But I find the whole thing extremely fishy. But I got the Leafs winning tonight at home and pushing it to a Game 7 back in Boston on Saturday. Let's talk about Vegas-Dallas. Series that's still ongoing. To me, it's been the best series so far. It's been some late starts. You might not have seen any of it. I've been watching. It's a fast series, chaotic, frantic at times, where you're like, are either goalie locked in? Vegas going to Adin Hill last night, which was puzzling to me because I thought Logan Thompson has been very good in the series overall for the Golden Knights. It was 2-0 Vegas. They win both games in Dallas. You go back to Vegas. Dallas wins both games there. Game 5 back in Dallas last night. And special teams has been important in this series. Both teams have taken stupid penalties. And you have a guy like Mason Marchment, who's an important piece, but at times has not been trusted by his head coach. And yes, Mason Marchment's out with an injury, but he was benched for parts of Game 2 because of injuries. And other people have to come in. Really, Dallas' comeback, you can throw it onto 3 players. Jay Gottinger, for finding his game. Jason Robertson, after having a average regular season. And Wyatt Johnson. Those are the 3 guys for me. Oettinger has allowed 2 goals or less in his last 3 starts. It's been locked. He'll allow a goal a game that you want back. Happened. The Carrier goal last night can't go in, but it did. But after that, he was dialed in. Vegas had power plays. Vegas had opportunities. But he made the saves he had to make, and Dallas ultimately wins the game 3-2. He looks out of position at times. He looks you get nervous watching him, but the puck doesn't go in the net. He is one of the best goalies in the world when he's dialed in, when he's locked in. And I thought he was last night. So credit to Jake Ottinger for having kind of a turnaround in this series so far. Jason Robertson has 3 goals in the series, including 2 game winners. Again, a average regular season for him, where he was dominant last year. One of the best stories in the league for me, Jason Robertson. But you look at him in the series, 5 points in 5 games, 2 power play goals. He gets it done. He had 80 points in 82 games. It's a good season, but dropped to 29 goals. He had 46 in 22-23. 41 the year prior to that, so a big drop off, kind of like the McDavid year. But he's having a great series. He's producing. Every game gets the game winner on the power play late in the second period with a great shot over the blocker of Aiden Hill. And he's just been a gamer, because for Dallas, Joe Pavelski hasn't been very good in this series. Doesn't have a point in the series. Uncharacteristic for him. But has dried up when it comes to point production. Jamie Benn has been a physical force, has been attacking the Vegas defense, in particular going at Brayden McNabb every game. But he's not what he used to be. Tyler Seguin does not have a goal in the series. He's been okay, but doesn't have a goal. So it's been on Jason Robertson. It's been on my player number 3, Wyatt Johnson, to find it. Wyatt's got 6 points in 5 games. To me, he's been their best player overall. To me, he's a bigger Brayden Point in that he's skilled and he can do a lot of the things the best players can do. But he's not afraid to go to the dirty areas. He's not afraid to mix it up and fight for space and find ways to be productive. Last night, he's at center ice. He takes a hit to make a play. Chips the puck off the boards to Logan Stankoven. Stankoven then goes around a defender, throws the puck cross ice, and Evgeny Dadonov puts it top shelf. It doesn't happen without Johnson taking the hit to make a play to create the offense. And that's him. That's at his core. He gets an assist on the power play goal by Matt Duchene, which was his first of the series. And I just think you look at the game overall, Heiskanen's been very good to me because he's playing a ton. Played 25 minutes last night in the victory. He's got a point in every game of the series. He's on the ice for a lot of goals, and this thing that can be, we're going to go, he's -6 in the series. I don't care. He has to play so much. He has to do so much for this team. Tanev's played a ton. Harley's a good defenseman. But other than that, they're like Lundqvist played 2 minutes last night. Lindell, Ryan Suter, 18 minutes. So Heiskanen has to do a lot for the team. And again, it's a frantic power play series that's physical, fast. What I will say about Dallas, I thought they had a great third period. They had the lead going into the third, and they never thought they were going to lose it. They blocked shots, controlled it, kept pucks to the outside. Puck was in the Vegas zone a lot. And this controlled the play, held the lead, and got the win. And they're now a game away from winning the series. Vegas has lost 3 in a row. which I didn't think would happen. Why are they losing? Well, I look around and I go, Chandler Stevenson's not as good as he was last year. Bill Carlson, not as good. Marchessault, it's been good, but not as good. Shea Theodore, taking stupid penalties instead of, trying to win the game. They're not getting production. Their goaltending has been a tick worse than Dallas's. And boy, did they take a lot of stupid penalties. Alex Pietrangelo is a great defenseman. Multiple times Stanley Cup champion. He's going to the Hall of Fame. However, late second period, he takes a roughing penalty, which was a forearm shiver to the face of Tyler Seguin, I believe. And it was a reckless play. It was a dangerous play. And it was stupid. No need for it. It was just him getting frustrated. He did the same thing last year with Draisaitl. Dirty, reckless play. And on that power play, Jason Robertson gets the game winner. And that was the game. They didn't score another goal. They never really came close to tying the game other than Ottinger's big save on Stevenson with 2:20 left where he stopped them on a partial breakaway when he went backhand, stuck the pad out. But this team is physical, they're mean, but it's almost to a fault because they take penalties that they can't overcome. And that Pietrangelo penalty, Shea Theodore took a penalty in Game 4. Dallas is clicking on the power play. Dallas is scoring a power play goal every game, at least one. Last night, they scored 2. Can't happen. Power play Dallas was 2 for 4. In the series, Dallas, I think, has 7 power play goals in 5 games. I mean, it's crazy. You can't let it happen. We go back to Vegas for Game 6 on Friday night. I think we could get a Game 7 here. It's a very tight series. Vegas in front of that home crowd. They'll be amped. I do believe Dallas is the better team. And they should overcome this. Both teams are in tough because you got Colorado sitting there waiting for you. Talk about that game more tomorrow and the prediction, but Vegas just seems off. Something not working there. They're not the same team that they were last year. We'll talk about that more. Canucks Predators, the only other series that is still ongoing in the first round. Canucks losing at home Tuesday 2-1. Weird series. Canucks have started 3 goaltenders. Predators lose 2 games at home where they outshoot a team 34-12 one game, and then they have a 3-1 lead with 3 minutes left, and they blow it in the other game. And then they go back to Vancouver, and they find a way to win. Play a low-impact game where shots are 22-20. And Roman Yossi thought someone going. Alex Carey, another defenseman, ultimately gets the game winner in the third period. Vancouver, I don't know. Seeloff's hasn't been the problem. You allowed 2 goals, you should win the game. I don't think Vancouver's defending has been the problem because they've allowed more than 3 goals twice in the series, and once was game 1. That was kind of a write-off. But Nikita Zadorov's got 2 goals in the series, which is a nice luxury to have. Nikita Zadorov having 2 goals in a playoff series. But other than JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, Lindholm, and Brock Besser, it's been quiet. Elias Pettersson's had a crap series. I don't care what anybody says. 2 points in 5 games. Just not out there. No fight. No will. I mean, does he want to make the playoffs? Does he want to be out there? I haven't seen him have a game where he looks like he's interested. Like he wants to compete, like he's going to be hard on the opposing team's defense. I mean, is he excited for the World Championships and he wants Nashville to win so he can go play for Team Sweden with Victor Hedman and his buddies? He's one of the best players in the world, and it's as if this is, I don't know, a fan contest. You see guys give their will for this. JT Miller wants to win. JT Miller is a competitor. JT Miller can cheat defensively occasionally. He has his moments where you look at him and go, that was stupid, JT, but you can never question his desire and his willingness to win. Elias Pettersson, I just look at him this series and I go, what are you doing? What's the approach? Based on your effort and your general disposition, what are you hoping to achieve? You're the best player on this team. You're playing on a team that's the favorite to win this series. I don't care if you're starting your third-string goaltender. The third-string goaltender hasn't been the problem. You only give up 22 shots on Tuesday night, and you lose the hockey game. Nashville comes into the game losing 2 games at home where they probably believe we should have won both of them, which they should have. This series should be over. It should be 4-1 Nashville. And yet, it's 3-2 Vancouver. You're in the driver's seat. You could have ended it at home ice. That crowd was fantastic. This isn't a story of a team just happy to be in the playoffs and we're here faster than we thought we'd be, which is true. No Vancouver fan thought they'd be in the playoffs the start of the year. No Vancouver fan thought they'd be in this position to have home ice until the conference final. But they're here now. You're playing a team you should beat. And I look at your best player and go, the guy doesn't have a fucking pulse. I mean, him and Austin Matthews have a group chat where they don't, Pettersson might as well just hang out with him, not dress. See, he had food poisoning? See he having the flu game? I don't know. But you're a two-way player. You can be effective. Watch Sasha Barkov's first-round series against Tampa. He was pretty damn good. Pretty damn effective. And I just don't see it. Hughes is playing hurt. If it's not apparent to you watching, he is. And he's still playing well. Still doing his thing. He can only do so much. Played 23 minutes the other night. More than enough. JT Miller played 22. Pedersen played 20 minutes, but 20 minutes of nothing. 20 minutes of blasé. I'd sooner put out Connor Garland in that third line. At least they have some energy. At least they play with a purpose. Nashville's playing the game they want to play. I give them credit for it. Low shots, low event games favor Nashville because Nashville does not have the skill that Vancouver does. And quite frankly, Nashville can't score. They have a hard time scoring goals, no matter who's in net for Vancouver. But they play a game where they score 2 and they find a way to win. Kudos to them. And they get 2 goals from their back end. I think the series is going 7, personally. Nashville lost twice at home. I don't think they're going to lose 3 times. That crowd's going to be into it. It's a early game on Friday, 8 o'clock in Nashville. They'll come prepared. Philip Forsberg has been good. O'Reilly's been good. Nike, that line. It's kind of the driving force for the Predators alongside Roman Josi and their catalysts on the back end. But I just look at Vancouver as a lethargic team, and they could turn it on, certainly. But to me, it's on Pedersen to do it. JT Miller's going to compete. He's going to play hard. He could have scored a couple of times tonight, he didn't. Brock Besser's had a hat trick in this series. Elias Lindholm has gotten points on multiple game winners. Dakota Joshua had a game 1 to remember. Nikita Zadorov has 2 goals in the series from the back end. He's not an offensive defenseman. You're on your third string goaltender. Every pinpoint, guys have hit and done it. You could have another JT Miller game, which you might need to because I don't have faith Elias Pettersson is going to show up and do something to help the Canucks win. And you're not guaranteed that Casey DeSmith's going to be back. I heard Steve Valiquette, who's an analyst for the Rangers, and he's just a really good analyst in general, former goalie, made this point. Back in 2018, DeSmith was playing for the Penguins. Backup goalie behind Matt Murray. Might have been, no, it was Jari, behind Tristan Jari. And in that series, Jari got hurt. Then DeSmith comes in relief. DeSmith also got hurt. So anytime he's been given an opportunity in the playoffs, he somehow gets an injury. Then Louis Domingue had to start the rest of that series, if you remember. Louis Domingue played against the Rangers. It went 7 games. Rangers ultimately win that series in overtime. But DeSmith's kind of gone AWOL when you need him in the playoffs. Could be real injuries. I'm just saying. It's happened twice now. Do you sense a pattern? Goalies are weird people. Unclear if he'll be available for Game 6. So it might be Sheloff's again. It sounds like Thatcher Demko. It's a 2 to 4 week injury, so he won't be available for the rest of this series. He might not be available for the Edmonton series after Edmonton punched their ticket last night. We'll see what they got to do with Nashville. Game 6 tomorrow in Nashville. We'll tee that up tomorrow before puck drop. But those 3 series are the ones remaining in round 1. Before we get to the series that are over and talk about some of those teams, I find this fascinating. Rod Brind'Amour. Have you heard of him? Current head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. He's in the last year of his contract. When the season's over, he will be a free agent. Doesn't have a contract, could go anywhere. Reportedly, he was negotiating with the Hurricanes There was an offer on the table, and the Hurricanes pulled it. So there's nothing right now, but that got leaked. And now people are aware of it. And it's become a sidebar. It's become a talking point around the league. And Rob Brandamore's had to answer it while Carolina waits for the second round series to start. First of all, that's not a good thing. I don't think Brandamore leaked it. Likely somebody in-house for the Carolina Hurricanes. And Carolina, Tom Dundon. I like him. Likes to wear the shorts. Doesn't make you wear a stupid boa constrictor tie. More laid back. But Carolina's Carolina. They're a small market. Great fans, but they'll only spend a certain amount of money. They're not going to break the bank. They're going to do what they've always done, and it's been very successful for them. One of the best things they have done is hire Rob Brandamore as their head coach. They've been in the conference final 3 of the last 4 years. They've been one of the most consistent, just great teams in the league. He's helped develop really, special talents. Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, Jacob Slavin. You go through the list. That team hasn't really had a superstar on it, and they've been incredibly successful, incredibly consistent. And I credit a lot of that to Rod Brandamore. But no extension, no contract, so teams have to wonder, is he going to be available? Because this week, Seattle fired Dave Haxtell after 3 years, which is a bit of a surprise. But Seattle's looking for a new head coach. Ottawa's looking for a new head coach. New Jersey's looking for a new head coach. Los Angeles, after last night, will be looking for a new head coach. Possibly Toronto could be in the business for a new head coach if things don't go well and they decide to fire Sheldon Keefe. More jobs could open. Pittsburgh's kind of up in the air. What's going on with Mike Sullivan? Is he staying? Is he not? Kyle Dubas won his own guy, so to speak. So there's lots of, the head coaching carousel is always moving. And San Jose has an opening. I don't think nobody would want that job. But there's jobs. A lot's happening. There's also, the Mike Sullivan rumors. There's John Cooper rumors. Is Tampa going to retain him potentially? Can Joel Quenneville come back to the league? If the Hurricanes let Rob Brandamore test free agency, to me it's crazy. Because if I'm a team that thinks I can win, if I'm a team that's on the periphery, and I have a decent team, but I need somebody to just establish some culture, establish some guidelines, some rules and regulations for my team to help them build to becoming a champion. Rob Brandamore is an obvious hire. He's a great coach. He knows what he's doing. Seattle's the obvious answer. Seattle, Ron Francis is the general manager. Ron Francis worked with he hired Rob Brandamore in Carolina. They play with one another. They have a relationship. Seattle, new organization, very pissed that they missed the playoffs this year. They want to get back to the winning ways. They want to be Vegas 2.0 and establish themselves as a top-tier organization. I think Seattle will be willing to pay more than Carolina because I think just about any team around the league will be willing to pay more than Carolina. Rob Brandamore is a $5 to $7 million coach all day, every day. I'm not saying coaches should make that much, but when that's the standard, that's the standard. And it's hard to argue he's not the best coach in the league, because I think he is. Coop's great, and I think Coop makes a lot around then. Obviously he's a Stanley Cup champion, and Rob Brandamore is not. We want to talk about leverage. What if the Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup? The pressure to keep Brennamore will be tenfold. But the coaching market's been quiet. Apparently, Ottawa's interviewed over 20 people already. New Jersey wants to interview people. I think teams are going to wait. And they're going to go, what if we can get Rod? What if he's available? I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you fire Sheldon Keefe, you could hire Brennamore. Because no team can outbid you when it comes to funds. No team can match what you can give him. Now, I think the Maple Leafs will do a big search. But if they want to hire a guy like Brennamore, like Quenneville, I mean, if Mike Sullivan's fired from Pittsburgh, he's getting a job before next season if he wants one. He's a multiple-time Stanley Cup champion. Been a really good coach. Knows how to handle a bench. Has worked with superstars, can deal with those egos, can manage them. Been doing it with Crosby Malkin for a long time. San Jose, Ottawa, they're not great jobs. I think big-name coaches wouldn't want them, quite frankly. So you have to settle for somebody else. But Seattle, more interesting. Bigger market, ownership, willing to spend money. They want to be competitive. Interesting. Toronto, biggest market in the sport. Changing of the guard. Going to get the biggest payday of your life. Something to consider. Los Angeles. Not a bad team. Good weather. Good market. So there are some good positions available, for sure. St. Louis isn't a bad job, if you ask me. They might keep their interim coach. I don't think they will, but I don't think St. Louis is a horrible job. You have some talent there. Need to make some changes. But you at least have pieces to work with. It's not like you're playing chess and all you have are pawns. That's taking over San Jose. That's coaching Chicago. You have one rook. You have Connor Bedard. After that, you look around going, oh, shit. This is a wasteland. I don't have nothing I can work with here. The San Jose gig doesn't really matter. You don't have anything. A bunch of pawns on a board. I don't think coaches are signing up because you're going to go, I'm going to take this job and I know I'm going to be fired before we get competitive, which is true. Whoever takes it. Somebody will, and they'll be happy to do it because they'll get a payday and you'll be a head coach. And you'll probably get a second chance because it seems like every time you get a job, you do get a second chance. But I think Mike Sullivan could potentially still be off the board. Rob Brennamore could be available. Cooper, I don't know, but there's rumors. Craig Berube is out there. Travis Green. Quenneville, potentially. There's good coaches. Good Jay Woodcroft. Jay Woodcroft, former head coach of the Oilers. Got fired early and make a coaching change. They've been good. I think they would have made the playoffs with Jay Woodcroft. Not taking anything away from Chris Knobloch, but Jay Woodcroft's a good coach. Jay Woodcroft's going to coach at the World Hockey Championships. Do I think he could be a head coach again? Absolutely. And he'd be an interesting candidate for a lot of these teams. I think going over to the Worlds doesn't hurt him at all. Get some experience, coach again, coach some of the best players. Be around the Connor Bedards and the Austin Matthews and all these great Sidney Crosby's, all these great players for Team Canada. So Between this, the coaching carousel is interesting because there's a lot of different names, a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. San Jose, New Jersey, Ottawa, LA, St. Louis, Minnesota question mark because they hired John Hines, but I don't know what's happening there with Bill Guerin and if they want to make a change. Winnipeg question mark. Not because Rick Bowness wasn't a good coach, but he's in his 70s. And does he want to keep coaching? You know, it's Sabres hired Lindy Ruff. They're off the board. Quick hiring. Philly, question mark. Tort's coming back. Does he want to coach? Don't know. If I missed anybody. Utah, sounds like they're keeping Andre Turney, but it's a new ownership group. That could be a quick firing next year if things don't go well for Andre. Kraken Ducks did it. Who knows? I mean, Bruce Cass is a good coach with Vegas, but they fire coaches left and right. If they lose in the first round, you never know. You think you got Joel? I'd still put there. Rod, even though he's still employed. Todd McClellan, still circulating. Travis Green. Berube. All guys who have had experience. Gerard Gallant, who I know has interviewed for multiple jobs. So experienced Jay Woodcroft, as I mentioned. Jay Woodcroft will be on that list. Depends, the way you want to go and decisions you want to make. But there are some good coaches, and I do think Jay Woodcroft's a good coach. I do think Berube is a good coach. I'd be stunned if Berube does not get a job this offseason if he wants one. If the opportunity makes sense for him. Ottawa is interesting to me because I think people are hedging, hoping the Toronto job comes open. And if they have to settle for Ottawa, they might have to. But I don't think Berube is going to be the next coach of the Senators. I just don't. I remember reading that when it happened, but I think he'd be the head coach already because you could have had it done in February. He would have said, you know what, Jacques Martin's coaching out the season. He's our coach next year. Berube will be the head coach. Start a training camp. But you didn't do it that way. And it's May now. They haven't played in almost a month. So you could have went, well, yeah, we've talked about it. We've interviewed a few people. Craig Berube's our guy. He's our team's next head coach. Now, if you're Craig Berube, Toronto's a better job. LA might be a better job. I don't know if they'll want him as their next head coach, but I think it's a better position, just personally. Minnesota potentially is. Because I like some of the pieces. I like Kaprizov a whole lot. Ottawa, they hired Dave Poulin and Steve Stais, and they've done different things. Look like more of an organization now. They have a plan. They're kind of stuck in limbo for a long time, but this nucleus has been together a long time with no success when it comes to the players. And a lot of them are on long-term deals, so it makes it difficult to trade them. And where do you go with the roster? So there's just a lot of question marks about the team, about the roster, about the way it works. So it's not that appealing of a job to me. I'd rather look around and go, let me try it here. Let me see if this works. But it's fascinating because there's a lot of different possibilities, a lot of different openings, and more still could be unfolding with what happens in the first round here. Some series are over. Let's talk about Colorado and Winnipeg. Colorado brought guns to a fistfight, really, is what happened in this series. They said, you know what? Yeah, let's not fight with our fists. We're just going to shoot you and make this over. They ran through Winnipeg. One-way traffic. Colorado's best players were phenomenal. Somehow their goaltending was better than Winnipeg's. Statistically, Hellebuck, the worst goalie of the first round out of everybody. Worst statistics. Goals against, save percentage, expected goals, all the worst. He was horrible in round one against Vegas last year. He was horrible against Colorado in round one this year. Now, Vegas went on to win the Stanley Cup. Colorado could absolutely go on to win the Stanley Cup. I picked Colorado to win the Cup before the year started. I've since moved off of that. But when they're firing on all cylinders, they are a dangerous team. They have a lot of different ways that they can beat you. I mean, to think Valeri Nichushkin had 7 goals in the first round. 7, it's staggering to me how productive he was. Him and Zach Hyman tied for the first round lead in goals. Not far behind are Terry Lehkonen of the Colorado Avalanche. Lehkonen's just a playoff performer. Nichushkin, when he's on his game, is a goal scorer, physical force. And when you have him dialed in, head on the right place, and Rantanen, it's almost unfair. Because Rantanen had 9 points in 5 games. Didn't score a goal until game 5, but he got a pair. Nice deflection, another one where he goes top shelf, both in the third period. But he was good throughout. Nathan McKinnon was great, and they just got balanced scoring. Like Lehkonen, 5 goals. Valeri Nichushkin had 7. Zach Parise, who's on the fourth line, had a pair of goals in the series. Cale Makar had a pair. It didn't matter. Every line found a way to be productive, found a way to contribute to the overall success of the team. They're so fast off the rush. They're so quick in the neutral zone getting pucks to the net, and Winnipeg could not handle it. Simple as that. Hellebuck couldn't make the save. They couldn't stop the transition. It didn't matter. Colorado said, we're better than you. We know it, and we're just going to attack. Winnipeg had moments where you go, maybe they forced a game 6, but I never thought they could come back and win the series. I didn't think it would be this quick, but Colorado is a buzzsaw. They look extremely good. Georgiev was good enough. And I just think they're such a balanced team that they can hurt you in a variety of ways. And you never know where it's going to come from. But it can be McKinnon flying down a wing, because you know that can happen. But it's also Rantanen just chewing you up the boards, winning the puck battle, then getting another guy bumping him off the puck, and him finding you alone in the slot, and you shoot the puck in the back of the net. Whether it's Vegas or it's Dallas, their goaltenders need to be good, and you need to be aware of where everybody is on the ice. Simple as that. You need to be aware of what's happening, what's going on around you, because they will make you pay if you make a mistake. For Winnipeg, you lose in 5 in the first round last year. You lose in 5 first round this year. Toffoli, Monahan, they were good ads. You had home ice in the first round. You had a really productive season. I thought Scheifele overall had a good series. Hellebuck was horrible. I mean, Winnipeg's only going to be so productive. I think they did a lot of good things. That Dubois trade was an absolute win for them. Getting Hellebuck and Scheifele to stay in Winnipeg wins because they're not superstars, but stars to stay in your market, not easy. Nobody wants to live in Winnipeg. Nobody wants to be in Winnipeg. You keep them. Kyle Connor, kind of an injured season, but he's productive when he's out there. Adam Lowry is the new captain. Thought that was the correct decision. Josh Morrissey's a really good defenseman, game in, game out. I think for Winnipeg, you have a small defense, and it's not a great defense. Nate Schmidt, you've had the same defense for like 2.5 years. It's not good enough, clearly. So that needs to be looked at. Why does Hellebuck suck in the playoffs? It's really hard to say. What's different than the regular season where he's going to be the Vezina Trophy winner, and he's the opposite of the Vezina Trophy winner in the postseason? He's the worst. He's the Aki Berg of the postseason, is what Connor Hellebuck is. Cole Perfetti could be a trade this summer. He's in Bonus's doghouse. They don't like one another. Could get something for him. He needs a new look, a new place to get a chance. Overall, I like their team. I think there's just a few truths. I think it's very hard for a team like Winnipeg in their market to win. To win it all. You can be competitive. Be a playoff team. That's imperative because people don't show up. But to actually win a Stanley Cup, I don't know. I find that hard to truly believe in. If Bonus wants to come back, I'd let him come back. But I don't know if he's going to because of health reasons to his wife. How old is Rick Bowness? Rick Bowness is 69 years old. He'll be 70 in January. He's been coaching in the NHL for 4 decades, which is an incredible, awesome achievement. And if he wants to keep coaching, keep coaching. I'm not telling him to retire. But if there is an opportunity, then if there's a coach you really like, then I'd explore it. But Winnipeg likes to keep people. Cheveldayoff's been the only GM since they returned to Winnipeg. He got them to a conference final. He's gotten them to making the playoffs a lot of years. But this is just Winnipeg's a lose in the first round, be competitive kind of team. But the team across from us has more talent, and they know how to win. And that was Vegas last year, and that's Colorado this year. And they both could end up being Stanley Cup champions. Wouldn't stun me. Carolina dispatches of the Islanders in 5 games. It was a weird series. You had multiple games where Carolina scores goals in quick spurts. Same thing for Game 5. Third period, Islanders 3-3 going into the third. They scored 2 goals in 8 seconds. The game's over just like that. Canes are physical. Freddie Anderson had a good series. He looks dialed in. He looks healthy. He looks rested. He's getting more rest now. Carolina, New York should be a fun series. 2 best teams in the Metropolitan. 2 of the best teams in the NHL is right down to the wire of who was going to win the division, who would ultimately win the President's Trophy. Rangers sweep the Capitals, so they feel good about themselves. I've been saying all year I think Carolina's winning that series. Prediction on games when that's official, when we actually have a schedule for round 2. But, in the first round, Panarin produced. Vincent Trocheck had an awesome first round. Shesterkin was solid between the pipes. Fox was good. Kreider on the power play. It's a series where there's no danger. You have no threat of losing the series. You know you're going to win it. But I'm curious to see how they match up against Carolina, how they go against just the way that they play. Carolina has some time for Brett Pesce to rest. Hopefully he's available sometime in round 2. They have some players banged up, but they should be fine. They have depth on the back end. And their guys they're up and comers. Seth Jarvis, Jack Drury have been producing for them. So kudos to Carolina. Carolina, New York. Should be an awesome series. Edmonton advances to the second round, defeating LA last night 4-3 in Edmonton. They lose game 2 in a game they probably should have won. But you win this series in 5. And again, 3 years ago, 7 games. Last year, 6 games. This year, 5 games. So it's gotten easier every time for the Oilers. They're playing a style that they're not playing reckless, but they trust their goaltending. They trust their defense enough. McDavid and Draisaitl are still 1-2 in playoff scoring. Hyman tied for first in goals with 7. To me, they had a really good series to me. Draisaitl played well. Hyman, clutch goal scoring. McDavid, just assist after assist. Skinner had his games where you look at him and go, okay, he wasn't that great. I thought he was good when he had to be. Evan Bouchard had a good series. He played 26 minutes last night, Evan Bouchard, in the closeout game. Officiating was awful in this game, both sides, but mainly favoring Edmonton. But Edmonton will be a heavy favorite whether they play Nashville or they play Vancouver. And I made this point before the playoffs started, and I'm not backing off of it. They look like the better team. They are the better team than Nashville or Vancouver. They have the best player in the world. Some nights they have the second best player in the world in Leon Draisaitl. Skinner's playing better. Ekholm has been since acquiring him, he's been a difference maker. They were in the second round last year. In the second round again, they're going to do better than they did last year. They're going farther. It's just, can they get past the conference final? Where it'll be Dallas, Vegas, or Colorado. All difficult opponents. Lost to Vegas last year. Lost to Colorado the year before that. They lost to both eventual Stanley Cup champions, the Edmonton Oilers. So can you get past that beast of a Western Conference opponent? Still got to beat Vancouver or Nashville. I think they will. And I don't think it'll be that difficult, quite frankly. But I thought they had an impressive first round. Take care of business. They now wait and see who it's going to be. They'll watch Friday night to see if it's going to go 7. Nashville, Vancouver, if they're going to be waiting there. But they're playing solid. Their power play's clicking. They're defending much better than they have in previous years. They're healthy. Vander Kane, Zach, they're balanced scoring. They're getting, guys are productive. So to me, I like the Edmonton Oilers. I like the cut of their jib, the way they're playing. They look like a legit team. And it's the rest of the series, I believe. 3 left. The NBA has been interesting because you got... It's been, I think both NBA and NHL, the first round has been quite disappointing. Kind of blasé, crappy series, not that entertaining games. But Knicks Sixers has been fantastic. And you get Knicks Sixers Game 6 tonight in Philadelphia. And Philly fans are pissed because the start time for that game is 9 o'clock local. Because you have two Eastern Conference teams playing tonight. So you have Pacers, Bucks, 7:30. And then Sixers, Knicks at 10 here, Atlantic, 9 Eastern. Sixers should be out, but Tyrese Maxey drops a 40-burger, including a logo 3 to send the game to overtime. Jalen Brunson misses shots, 2 turnovers in the overtime, and Philly escapes. Joel Embiid wasn't that great in Game 5, but Maxey was. And an improbable comeback. You head back to Wells Fargo tonight. And all pressure on the Sixers. Should be a lot of Knicks fans in attendance. You look at the NBA, there's 4 series remaining, just I guess one more than hockey currently, because Bucks, Pacers, Knicks, Sixers both could be over tonight. Game 6s. Bucks have been without Giannis, been without Damian Lillard, and they crushed the Pacers the other night. I think the Pacers win at home and they advance to the second round tonight. I think the Sixers force a Game 7 tonight. They win at home, back to the Mecca for Game 7. You also have Cavs, Magic, Clippers, Mavericks. Mavericks crushed the Clippers last night in Los Angeles. If we're going to get a Game 7, it's going to be Magic Cavs because that's been a home series so far. Magic undefeated in Orlando. Cleveland undefeated in Cleveland. To me, the Mavericks are just too much. Without Kawhi Leonard, they won last night by 30 points in LA. Luka dropped 35. Shot pretty well. Kyrie was kind of a non-factor. But Kleber, 15. Lively, 12 off the bench. It was just a game. Luka was the force. He was the driving force of this game. Where Clippers, Paul George, 4 for 13 from the floor. Terrible. Zubac had a great first half. Harden, 2 for 12. Woof. They're 2 players you needed to be great were not. The Mavericks' best player was. I think the Mavericks will close it out Friday night in Dallas. But interesting for sure. But yeah, the Knicks Sixers has been on. Heat Celtics was a dreadful series, which we all knew it would be. Celtics finally ended last night in 5 games. You had the East is 3 East series still going out west. You got, we already know Timberwolves will be playing the Nuggets in round 2. You have OKC waiting on either Dallas or the Clippers for their series. So still some things to be decided out west. But we'll watch for that this evening. Tomorrow on the podcast, we'll have full reaction to Maple Leafs Bruins Game 6 in Toronto. Going to get into Major League Baseball a little bit. The Blue Jays offense so far, the Baltimore Orioles and their impressive start to the season. Look at the Dodgers, kind of this expectations. Mike Trout injured again, knee surgery. What else is new? We'll recap the NBA games this evening. We'll look at UFC 301. Talk about the betting lines. UFC 301 Saturday night in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So we'll look at that card and much more. Until then, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the support as always. Happy Thursday. This is To The Point.